My college theater professor said that Romeo and Juliet is a powerful play not because it is about love per se, but because it is about first love. Everyone has a first love, he says, and they never forget it. As a student, I remember thinking, actually, Romeo gets dumped before the play even opens, so it's not his first love, and it might be Juliet's first love, but both of them die within a week of meeting each other, so it's also their last love. I'm not sure this is the best example. I'm a nerd, which is where this story begins with me as a nerd at the Georgia Governor's Honors Program at age 17. GHP is a magical, mystical summer camp on a college campus. It is 6 weeks on the taxpayer's dime to frolic around with other nerds and go to school for fun. I was in heaven. It was my first day there, and I'm lying on the campus green against a tree. I'm reading Catcher in the Rye. I'm breathing it all in. When what should interrupt my teenage reverie but a guitar? Can you imagine the audacity? And I decide that I'm going to walk over and just glower in the general direction of whoever is playing. And then I see who it is. He's this wiry dude with a really intense face and these tortoiseshell glasses and a floppy emo haircut and the deepest blue eyes I've ever seen. And he turns and he just stops playing and looks at me and gives me this cockeyed grin. And I've gone from wanting him to stop to wanting him to keep playing for the next 3 hours or 3 days. And so I do. I say, can you please keep playing, whatever that was? And of course, it's a song that he wrote, and he doesn't just play, now he sings, and it's this aching, wistful ballad, and I can tell that just underneath is this deep well of wisdom and sensitivity. Oh. His name is Blake. Blake and I hit it off, and after 1 week, we've become inseparable. We bond over our disdain for high school coolness and our love for music, poetry, and books. At 2 weeks, we learn that we've both grown up in conservative evangelical homes and that we actually followed the rules. We've never drunk or smoked or done drugs. We've never gotten to third base with a girl. Week 3, we discover why. Blake and I are both gay, but we don't use those words because they aren't available to us. Our backgrounds have told us that we can't ever talk about our filthy, shameful desires, and that if we must use the phrase struggle with homosexuality. Really, all we're allowed to do is struggle, and we have to do it in silence. But with Blake, I break the silence. I become a full person with another person for the first time. In a very twisted way, our shared burden brings us closer together. But this is not Romeo and Juliet. We do not have a torrid, illicit love affair. We do not hold hands. We don't kiss. But we do plumb the depths of each other's souls, which is, in its way, more intimate. And then week 6 arrives all too soon. And it is the last day of nerd camp. And we wake up early and we go to that same college green where we first met each other. And he plays that same sad, beautiful song, only now I know the pain that has forged it. And I hug him, maybe just a little too hard. And I walk away to my parents' car, sobbing. Senior year comes and goes, and then college, and we keep in touch through phone calls, the occasional letter, and some weird new thing called social media. But as my college career draws to a close, we start to drift apart, and the world starts to change. I start to change. I decide that I want to come out. I decide that I want to tell all of my friends, one by one, in person, which I do not recommend. It is exhausting. But I do it, and it's the end of the semester of grad school, and I realize there's only one person left on the list. So on my way home for Christmas, I make an excuse to crash at Blake's for the night. And as I drive up to his front door, my palms are sweating. And my heart is racing, and I'm telling myself, relax, it is just Blake. And I come up to the door, and he opens it, and sure enough, there he is. Same floppy emo haircut, same tortoiseshell glasses. He doesn't say anything, but he leads me to the backyard where he's built a fire, and he has marshmallows to roast, because of course he does. And we just sit for a while because I don't want to ruin it. But then, while I'm watching a single ember waft up to the sky, I don't look at him and I say, Blake, I don't want to struggle anymore. I'm coming out, I'm gay. And Blake turns and looks at me with those tortoiseshell glasses and says, you know I'll always love you, brother. I wake up the next morning and leave early without saying goodbye, and we never speak again. Blake's name isn't Blake. I followed him on Facebook over the years, and he's still sensitive, still brilliant, and now married to who I hope is a lovely young woman. It would seem that my college theater professor was correct. I never have forgotten my first love, not because I wanted it to work out, because it was never going to, but because crystallized in that magical, unrepeatable summer is the lesson of what love is, not just for another person, but for life and for beauty and for myself. And because I didn't die a week later like Romeo and Juliet, I can carry it with me for the real thing. So Blake, if by some miracle you hear this, thank you, and I'll always love you too.